ममज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरून् श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगना रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधो जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. So we will continue from where we left. It is 22nd sloka of 6th chapter of 2nd canto. Right? Yasmadandam virajagне bhutendriya gunatmakah tadravyam atyagad vishvam gobi surya ivatapan. From that personality of Godhead, all the universal globes and universal form with all material elements, qualities, and senses are generated. Yet he is aloof from such material manifestations like the sun, which is separate from its rays and heat. Purport: the supreme truth has been ascertained in the previous verse as Purusha or Purushottama, the supreme person. The absolute person is the Ishvara or the supreme controller by his different energies. The Ekapada Vibhuti manifestation of the material energy of the Lord is just like one of the many mistress of the Lord, by whom the Lord is not so much attracted as inclined in the language of the Gitas, Prakritihi. But the region of the Tripada Vibhuti, being a pure spiritual manifestation of the energy of the Lord, is so to speak more attractive to him. The Lord therefore generates the material manifestations by impregnating the material energy, and then within the manifestation, he expands himself as the gigantic form of the Virata Purusha. In the Virata Rupa, as it is shown to Arjuna, is not the original form of the Lord. The original form of the Lord is transcendental form of Purushottama or Krishna himself. It is very nicely explained herein that he expands himself just like the sun. The sun expands itself by its terrible heat and rays, yet the sun is always aloof from such rays and heat. The impersonalists take into consideration the rays of the Lord without any information of the tangible, transcendental, eternal form of the Lord, known as Krishna. Therefore, Krishna is the supreme personal form with two hands and flute, is bewildering for the impersonalist who can accommodate only gigantic Virata Rupa of the Lord. They should know that the rays of the sun are secondary to the sun, and similarly, the impersonal gigantic form of the Lord is also um, secondary to the personal form as Purushottama. Okay, so here we see that no, first it is talked about Ekapada Vibhuti means this material world. So material world, the Lord is not very much attracted to the material world, but he is very much attracted to the Vaikuntha Loka, because there his pure devotees are staying. And in the material world, it is all people who want to exploit each other or want to enjoy the material energy. No, they are there. So he is not very much attracted to the material world, but out of compassion he comes to this world to reclaim the conditioned souls from this world. And here it is mentioned about the Vishwarupa or the Virata Rupa. So that is shown to the Arjuna, and it's also explained here. So it is something that is not a very permanent form. So we discussed this quite a number of times. It is just a imaginary form of the Lord, but the Lord's original form in the form of Krishna no, that is the original form of the Lord, and no, that is permanent form of the Lord. And no, here Prabhupada is giving the example of sun and the sunshine. The sunshine, no, it doesn't have the permanent effect. No, sunshine keeps changing, but then the sun remains the same, right? So the Virata Rupa form of the Lord is just an imaginary form, or it's just a changing form, no, because it's composed of many material elements. And then the Krishna's original form, no, Sachidananda Vigraha, so that doesn't change, no, that is permanent. And here Prabhupada is citing from Brahma Samhita, Ananda Chinmaya Rasa Pratibhavithabhis Tabairayeva Nijarupa Tayakalabihi Golokayeva Navashat Takilatma Bhuto Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Govinda, the one who enlivens the senses of everyone by his personal bodily rays, resides in this transcendental abode called Goloka. Yet he is present in every nook and corner of his creation by expansion of his happy spiritual race, equal in power to his personal potency of bliss. He is therefore simultaneously personal and impersonal by his inconceivable potency, or he is one without a second, displaying complete unity in a diversity of material and spiritual manifestations. He is separate from everything, and is still nothing, and still nothing is different from him. Hmm? So this is a very important philosophical point. So the Lord is separate from everything, but at the same time, nothing is different from him also. The Lord is there, and everything that exists is his energy. So in that way, everything, no, everything is, no, in one sense, part of the Lord. But then the Lord, he himself, is also separate from all these things, no, separate from his energies. So both the things are simultaneously true. No, like he is separate from everything, and still nothing is different from him. Right? That's a very nice point. Text 23. Yadasya nabhayan nalinad aham asam mahatmanah naividam navidam yajna sambaran purusha uh, purusha vayavan rite. When I was born from the abdominal lotus flower of the Lord Mahavishnu, the great person, I had no ingredients for sacrificial performance except the bodily limbs of the great personality of Godhead. So this is Brahmaji, when he's taking birth on the lotus flower, which has come from the navel of the Lord Vishnu. So after that, he's telling that, no, I didn't have any ingredients to start my sacrifice. So this is one of the important things. The existence, our very existence is meant for sacrifice. Our very existence is meant to do things which are meant for the pleasure of the Lord. So here, Brahmaji, after he is taking birth, so he's telling that, no, I didn't have any ingredients to do sacrificial performance, right? So except the bodily limbs of the great personality of Godhead. So only thing that was there was the bodily limbs of the Lord. That was the only thing that was available at that time. Purport. Lord Brahma, the creator of cosmic manifestation, is known as Swayambhu, or one who is born without father and mother. The general process is that a living creature is born out of the sex combination of male father and female mother. But Brahma, the firstborn living being, is born out of the abdominal lotus flower of the Mahavishnu, plenary expansion of Lord Krishna. The abdominal lotus flower is part of the Lord's bodily limbs, and Brahma is born out of the lotus flower. Therefore, Lord Brahma is also a part of Lord's body. Brahma, after his appearance in the gigantic halo of the universe, saw darkness and nothing else. Everywhere that he is seeing is like only darkness, no, nothing else is there. So he felt perplexity, and from his heart he was inspired by the Lord to undergo austerity, thereby acquiring the ingredients for sacrificial performances. But there was nothing besides the two of them, namely the personality of Mahavishnu and Brahma himself, born of the bodily part of the Lord. For sacrificial performance, many ingredients were in need, especially animals. The animal sacrifice is never meant for killing the animal, but for achieving the successful result of the sacrifice. The animal offered in the sacrificial fire is, so to speak, destroyed, but the next moment it is given a new life by the dint of Vedic hymns chanted by the expert priests. When such an expert priest is not available, the animal sacrifice in the fire of sacrificial altar is forbidden. Actually, there is a nice shloka that is there. No, 5 things that are prohibited in Kali Yuga. Ashwamedham, Gavalambam, Sannyasam, Falapaitrikam. What is that? The 5th one is ठीक है. So Ashwamedha means like horse sacrifice, Gavalambam means cow sacrifice, and then Sannyasam, and then this one Falapaitrikam, or offering of meat in the oblations in the sacrificial fire. So in this way, these meat means flesh in the sacrificial fire. So in this way, these things are kind of prohibited in Kali Yuga. These are some of the things which are prohibited. Why? Because there is no proper person is there to perform these things. That is the reason why these things are prohibited. So in the beginning of the creation, it was Brahma saw that these things are not there. So he was perplexed, like how to go about start his activities at all. That was his confusion. Also, nothing is created out of nothing, but everything is created from the person of the Lord, right? Okay, so before that, thus Brahma created even the sacrificial ingredients out of the bodily limbs of Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, which means that the cosmic order was created by Brahma himself. Also, nothing is created out of nothing, but everything is created from the person of the Lord. The Lord says in Bhagavad Gita, Aham sarvasya prabhavo matta sarvam pravartate. Everything is made from my bodily limbs, and I am therefore the original source of all creation. So the initial ingredients to create this world has come from the Lord Vishnu's body, right? So, and Brahma had to extract these things for creating, to continue the creation. And the impersonalists argue that there is no use in worshipping the Lord when everything is nothing but the Lord himself. The personalists, however, worship the Lord out of great sense of gratitude, utilizing the ingredients born out of the bodily limbs of the Lord. The fruits and flowers are available from the body of the earth, and yet Mother Earth is worshipped by the sensible devotee with ingredients born from the earth. Similarly, Mother Ganges is worshipped by the water of Ganges, and yet the worshipper enjoys the result of such worship. Worship of the Lord is also performed by the ingredients born from the bodily limbs of the Lord, and yet the worshipper, who is himself a part of the Lord, achieves the result of devotional service to the Lord. The nice examples are given. So, like Bhumi Puja, when it is done, so what is offered to Bhumi is some flowers and things like that, which is produced from the Bhumi. And Ganges is worshipped by offering Ganges water back to Ganges. You take a little bit of water, chant mantras, and offer the Ganges water back to Ganges. So that is how the Ganga Puja happens. So now we see that even the worship of the Lord is also like what we are going to worship. We are going to worship the Supreme Lord, who is the source of everything, and we are going to take things of this world, which is His property, and then offer it back to Him. That is how the worship is performed. So in that way, like we can see that. So this one, the devotional service of the Lord is performed with the ingredients which is supplied by the Lord only. While the impersonalists strongly conclude that He is the Lord Himself, the personalists, out of a great gratitude, worship the Lord in devotional service, knowing perfectly well that nothing is different from the Lord. The devotee therefore endeavors to apply everything in the service of the Lord, because he knows that everything is the property of Lord and that no one can claim anything as one's own. This perfect conception of oneness helps the worshipper in being engaged in his loving service, whereas impersonalists, being falsely puffed up, remain a non-devotee forever without being recognized by the Lord. So impersonalists, somehow or other, they think that everything is part of the Lord, so everything is Lord. So like we can know what is a separate need of worshipping the Lord with devotional service, right? Like that. So text 24, Teshu yajnasya pasavaha svanaspatyah kushaha idam cha deva yajanam kalaschoru gunanvitaha. From performing sacrificial ceremonies, for performing sacrificial ceremonies, one requires sacrificial ingredients. such as flowers, leaves, and straw, along with the sacrificial altar and a suitable time, that is spring. Okay. Text 25. Vastun oshadyah sneha rasaloha mrudo jalam rucho yajumsi samani chaturhotram chasattama. Other requirements are utensils, grains, clarified butter, honey, gold, earth, water, the Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, and Sama Veda, and 4 priests to perform the sacrifice. Purport. To perform a sacrifice successfully, at least 4 expert priests are needed. One who can offer, that is Hota, and one who can chant, that is Udgata, and one who can kindle the sacrificial fire without the aid of separate fire, Advaryu, and one who can supervise, Brahma. So such sacrifices were conducted from the birth of Brahma, the first living creature, and were carried on till the reign of Maharaj Yudhishthira. But such expert Brahmana priests are very rare in this age of corruption and quarrel, and therefore in the present age, only the yajna of chanting the holy name of the Lord is recommended. The scriptures enjoin Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Namaiva Kevalam, Kalau Nasteva, Nasteva, Nasteva Gatiranyata. So, now in this age, because of these yajnas and all will not work because there is nobody qualified to perform these yajnas. So that is why the scriptures mention that no Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Namaiva Kevalam. No, only the holy name of the Lord will work. And then no Kalau Nasteva, Nasteva, Nasteva Gatiranyata. So this is the only thing, the Harinam is the only thing which can actually destroy the ill effects of Kali Yuga, and there is no other, no Gatir Anyata, like there is no other way other than this. So the scriptures are very, very explicit in mentioning this particular point. Okay? Text 26. Nama deyani matrascha dakshinascha vratani cha devanu krama kalpaha sankalpastantrameva cha. Other necessities, including invoking the different names of demigods by specific hymns and vows of um, recompense in accordance with the particular scripture for specific purposes and by specific processes, right? So like there are other necessities, they are invoking the names of the demigods by specific hymns, and then vows of recompense, let us like compensation. No, this is recompense is somewhat like compensation. We'll just see that meaning. Make amend for loss or harm. So compensate, something like that. Offenders should recompense their victims. Okay. So there is vows of recompense in accordance with the particular scripture for specific purpose and by specific processes. So these are all other necessities that are needed for performing a yajna. The whole process of offering sacrifice is under the category of fruitive action, and such activities are extremely scientific. They mainly depend on the process of vibrating sounds with a particular accent. It is a great science, and due to being out of proper use for more than 4,000 years, for want of qualified brahmanas, such performance of sacrifice are no longer effective, nor are they recommended in this fallen age. So what is this 4,000 years? It's like since the beginning of Kali Yuga. It's almost 5,000 years. So Prabhupada is mentioning that there are like it is a great science, and due to being out of proper use, that means like it is out of use. It is not there, in practice. Since last 4,000 years, it has degraded a lot. Since the beginning of Kali Yuga. So for want of qualified brahmanas, there are no qualified brahmanas to perform such sacrifice, and and because of that, they are no longer effective. These sacrifices are, nor are they recommended in this fallen age. That is not necessary for this particular age. Any such sacrifice undertaken in this age as a matter of show may simply be a cheating process by the clever priestly order, but such a show of sacrifice cannot be effective at any stage. Fruitive actions is being carried on by the help of material science, and to a little extent by gross material help. but the materialists await a still more suitable advancement in the process of vibrating sounds on which the Vedic hymns are established. Gross material science cannot divert the real purpose of human life. It can only increase the artificial needs of life without any solution to the problems of life. Therefore, the way of materialistic life leads to the wrong type of human civilization. Since the ultimate aim of life is spiritual realization, the direct way of invoking the holy name of Lord, as mentioned above, is precisely recommended by Lord Chaitanya, and people of modern age can easily take advantage of this simple process, which is tenable for the condition of complicated social structure. This is chanting of the names of the Lord is the proper way, and it's possible way in this Kali Yuga, and all other Vedic sacrifices and things like that, it will not work in this age. Gatayo matayaschaiva prayaschittam samarpanam purusha vayavair ete sambhara samvrita maya. Thus, I had to arrange all these necessary ingredients and paraphernalia of sacrifice from the personal bodily parts of the personality of Godhead. By invocation of the demigods' names, the ultimate goal, Vishnu, was gradually attained, and thus compensation and ultimate offering were complete. Purport. In this verse, special stress is given to the person of the Supreme Lord and not to his impersonal Brahmajyoti as being the source of all supplies. So everything that comes is coming from the body of the Lord and not from the Brahmajyoti. That's a very important point to note. Narayana, the Supreme Lord, is the goal of sacrificial results, and therefore the Vedic hymns are ultimately meant for attaining this goal. Human life is thus made successful by pleasing Narayana and getting entrance into the direct association of Narayana in the spiritual kingdom of Vaikuntha. Okay. So all the Vedic hymns are meant for pleasing the Supreme Lord, Yajnartha. So it is meant for pleasing the Supreme Lord, and that gives us elevation to the Vaikuntha Loka. Text 28. Iti sambrata sambharaha purusha vayavair aham tam eva purusham yajnam tenai vayajam ishwaram. Thus I created the ingredients and paraphernalia for offering sacrifice out of the parts of the body of Supreme Lord, the enjoyer of the sacrifice, and I performed the sacrifice to satisfy the Lord. Purport. People in general are always anxious to have peace of mind or peace in the world, but they do not know how to achieve such a standard of peace in the world. Such peace in the world is obtainable by performances of sacrifice and by practice of austerity. In Bhagavad Gita 5.29, the following prescription is recommended. Bhoktaram ekna tapasham sarvaloka maheshwaram suhridam sarvabhutanam nyatva mam shanti muchati. The karma yogis know that the Supreme Lord is the factual enjoyer and maintainer of all sacrifices and of the austere life. So, this Bhokta means like one who is the enjoyer. The Supreme Lord is the enjoyer of everything that exists, right? So the Karma Yogis know it like that, and the Supreme Lord is the actual enjoyer of all the sacrifices and then austerities that is performed by them. They also know that the Lord is the ultimate proprietor of all planets and is factual friend of all living entities. Such knowledge gradually converts the Karma Yogi into pure devotees of the Lord through the association of unalloyed devotees, and thus they are able to be liberated from material bondage. So here, we see one point that Karma Yogis, they know that the Lord is the enjoyer and they want to offer things to Him, but then they also want to enjoy some results of those sacrifices, right? So, but then because they're following the Vedic scriptures and then they're doing this like Karma Kanda Yajnas and all, so what happens is they happen to meet the pure devotees of the Lord also, because they are dealing with Vedic sacrifices. Sometimes, like when they are in those circles, sometimes they get the opportunity to associate with pure devotees of the Lord. So because of that association, they are capable of getting liberated from the material bondage, right? Brahma, the original living being within the material world, taught us the way of sacrifice. The word sacrifice suggests dedication of one's interest for the satisfaction of a second person. So that means sacrifice means like no, generally no, we say that a person, no, he sacrificed a lot for the benefit of other person. So sacrifice means to give up my own thought and to accept somebody else's this one or somebody else's pleasure as a main thing. No, that is called as sacrifice. And this is the way of all activities. Every man is engaged in sacrificing his interest for others, either in the form of family, society, community, country, or entire human society. But perfection of such sacrifice is attained when they are performed for the sake of Supreme Person, the Lord. Because the Lord is the proprietor of everything, because the Lord is a friend of all living creatures, and because He is the maintainer of the performer of sacrifice, as well as the supplier of the ingredients of the sacrifice. It is He only and no one else who should be satisfied by all sacrifices. The whole world is engaged in sacrificing energy for advancement of learning, social upliftment, economic development, and plans for total improvement of human condition. But no one is interested in sacrificing for the sake of the Lord, as it is advised in Bhagavad Gita. Therefore, there is no peace in the world. If men at all want peace in the world, they must practice sacrifice in the interest of Supreme Proprietor and friend of all. So this one, everyone is working for somebody's satisfaction. But if we can work for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord, that is the ultimate sacrifice. And no, that is the then there will be like peace and prosperity in the world. No, so but if we don't do that, then it is then there is no peace in the world. No, that is possible. Text 29. Tataste Bharata ime, sorry, Bhratara ime prajanam patayo nava ayajan ayajan vyaktam avyaktam purusham susamahitah. My dear son, thereafter your 9 brothers, who are the masters of living creatures, perform the sacrifice with proper rituals to satisfy both the manifested and non-manifested personalities. So, the brothers of Narada are like they are very great people. Like Daksha is there. Lord Shiva is also like is a son of Brahma only, so he's also can be called as brother of Narada. And then many other sages, Marichi and all these great sages were born of they're all called as Manas Putras of Brahma. So they were created from the mind of Brahma, right? So these personalities, they came about and they started performing a lot of Vedic sacrifices. Purport: the manifested personalities are the demigods, like the ruler of the heavenly kingdom Indra and his associates, and the non-manifested personality is the Lord himself. The manifested personalities are mundane controllers of the material affair, whereas the non-manifested personality of Godhead is transcendental beyond the range of material atmosphere. So why this manifested and non-manifested words are used? Manifested means those people who can be seen by the person, like there is some clarity about their existence. There is that is manifested personalities. And in the beginning of creation, like whenever the yajna is performed, all the devatas would go and physically take part in that. So in that way, like we can see that the yajna is meant for the manifested personalities, that is all the devatas, and also to the Supreme Lord, who is non-manifested. That means in this world, at least, we cannot see the Lord very readily. We cannot see Him immediately, whenever we want. So we have to qualify ourselves to see the Lord. So that is why sometimes He is called as Avyakta or non-manifested. So the manifested personalities are mundane controller of material affairs, whereas the non-manifested personality is transcendental beyond the range of material atmosphere. In this age of Kali, the manifested demigods are also not to be seen, for space travel has completely stopped. So both the powerful demigods and the Supreme Personality of Godhead are non-manifested to the covered eyes of the modern man. Modern men want to see everything with their eyes, and although they are not uh, sufficiently qualified, consequently they disbelieve in the existence of the demigods or of the Supreme God. They should see through the pages of authentic scriptures and should not simply believe their unqualified eyes. Even in these days, God can also be seen by qualified eyes tinged with the ointment of love of Godhead. law of God. So premanjana churita bhakti vilochanena. So one who's engaged in the service of the Lord, even now they can actually see the existence of the Lord. Now we also have this sloka, bhakti paresha anubhava virakti anyatra chaisa trika eka kala prapadyamanasya yatashnatasu tushti pushti shudapayo nagasha. So this says that bhakti, devotion, and paresha anubhava means direct experience of the Lord, and then virakti, no detachment from this world. All these three things simultaneously increases when a person takes shelter of the Lord, prapadyamanasya. So when a person takes shelter of the Lord, these three things increases. That means direct experience of the Lord is also possible, in this age of Kali. But then we cannot challenge to show the God. We have to study about the God and we have to qualify ourselves. Then we will be able to see the Lord, right? Tatascha manavakale yijire rishayopare pare pitaro vibudha daitya manusya kratubir vibhum. Thereafter, the Manus, the fathers of mankind, the great sage, the forefathers, the learned scholars, the Daityas, and mankind, the mankind perform sacrifice meant to please the Supreme Lord, and mankind perform. Okay, so thereafter, Manus, the fathers of mankind. So Manu is called as the father of mankind. So from Manu comes the word man. No, from Manu comes the word Manushya, and from there only the word man, English word man, also comes. So it is Manu is the like forefather of the mankind. Okay, and then the great sages, the seven great rishis are there, Sapta rishis, and the forefathers, the learned scholars, the Daityas, and mankind perform sacrifices meant to please the Supreme Lord. Now, every one of them are performing sacrifices for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord. The Daityas are devotees of demigods because they want to derive the greatest possible material facilities for them. The devotees of the Lord are ekanishta, or absolutely attached to the devotional service of the Lord. Therefore, they have practically no time to seek the benefit of material facilities. Because of their realization of their spiritual identity, they are more concerned with spiritual emancipation than with material comforts. Now, a devotee of the Lord, he is because no, he is very much spiritually surcharged. No, he is no, he doesn't want to no worship various demigods. No, he is ekanishta. His nishta is towards one personality, that is the Supreme Lord Krishna. And no, they are looking for liberation from this world. So they can only worship the no Mukunda, or the person who gives mukti, right? And then they are not interested in going behind different devatas. So text 31. Narayane Bhagavati Taddidam Vishwamahitam Grihita Mayayor Gunaha Sargadha Vanu Aguna Svataha. All the material manifestation of universe are therefore situated in his powerful material energies, which he accepts self-sufficiently, although he is eternally without affinity for the material modes. Okay, so the question put by Narada before Brahma concerning the sustenance of the material creation is thus answered. Material creation and reactions, as the material scientists can superficially observe, are not basically ultimate truth in regard to creation, maintenance, and destruction. The material energy is a potency of the Lord, which is displayed in time, accepting the three qualities of goodness, passion, and ignorance in the forms of Vishnu, Brahma, and Shiva. The material energy thus works under the supreme spell of his lordship, although he is always transcendental to all such material activities. A rich man constructs a big house by spending his energy in the shape of resources, and similarly, he destroys a big house by his resources. But the maintenance is always under his personal care. Hmm. So this is a very nice point. So while building we will engage mason and people like that. They will come and build the whole house, and while destroying also, we will employ some agency. They will just come with some machine and they will just tear down the building fully, right? So but then if when the house is maintained, so the person personally is staying in the house and he is maintaining the house, right? So this is the way. No, the Lord uses Brahma for creation and Lord Shiva for destruction, but for maintenance he personally takes charge, no, like that. Okay, the Lord is the richest of rich because he is always fully complete in six opulences. Therefore, he is not required to do anything personally, but everything in the material world is carried out by his wishes and directions. Therefore, the entire material manifestation is situated in Narayana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The impersonal conception of the Supreme Truth is due to lack of knowledge only, and this fact is clearly explained by Brahmaji, who is supposed to be the creator of universal affairs. Brahmaji is the highest authority in Vedic wisdom, and his assertion in this connection is therefore the supreme information. Text 32. Srijami thanyuktoham haro harati tadvashah vishvam purusha rupena paripati trishakti dhruk. By his will, I create. Lord Shiva destroys, and he himself, in his eternal form as the personality of Godhead, maintains everything. He is the powerful controller of these three energies. Purport. The conception of one without a second is clearly confirmed here. The one is Lord Vasudev, and only by his different energies and expansions are different manifestations, both in the material and spiritual worlds, maintained. So this is nice thing. No one without a second. That means ekam eva advitiyad. No, there is no second. This one. So the Lord is the one entity which exists in the whole creation. And who's Brahma? Who's Lord Shiva? They are all energies of, means they are all different amshas of the Lord. No, in this way, like no, everything that exists is no only one entity, one personality, that is the Supreme Lord, right? So, and his by his various energies, he maintained both the spiritual world and the material world. In the material world also, Lord Vasudeva is everything, as stated in Bhagavad Gita. Vasudevaha sarvamiti. Everything is Vasudeva only. In the Vedic hymns also, the same Vasudeva is held to be supreme. It is said in the Vedas, Vasudevat paro Brahman, Brahman na chanyor vithostis tattvataha. In fact, there is no greater truth than Vasudeva. And Lord Krishna affirms the same truth in Bhagavad Gita 7.7. Mattaha parataram nanyat. No, there is nothing beyond me. There is nothing above me. Okay. So the conception of oneness as overly stressed by the impersonalist is also accepted by the personalist devotee of the Lord. The difference is that the impersonalist denies personality in the ultimate issue, whereas the devotees give more importance to the personality of Godhead. Srimad Bhagavatam explains this truth in the verse under discussion. The Vasudev, Lord Vasudev, is one without a second, but because he is all powerful, he can expand himself as well as display his omnipotency. The Lord is described here as omnipotent by three energies, Trishakti Dhruk. So primarily, his three energies are internal, marginal, and external. This external energy is also displayed in the three modes of goodness, passion, and ignorance. External means material energy. Similarly, the internal potency is also displayed in the three spiritual modes, that is Samvit, Sandhini, and Hladini. So now we can see that in the material world, so much of variety is there. No, so much of variety is there. We have nice trees are there, so many buildings are there, natural this ones are there, clouds are there, sky is there, so many things is there. Now all of them are, how is it described as? It is described as Asat, Achit, and Nirananda. So like that which is temporary, that which is no ignorant by nature, and that which is no devoid of happiness is called as material things, right? So now we see the spiritual world means what? Sat, Chit, and Ananda. So like, sometimes people imagine that spiritual world means like what will be there, no variety will be there, and things like that and all. So if Achit, no Asat, and Nirananda can produce so much of variety, no Sat, Chit, and Ananda, or in other terms, Samvit, Sandhini, and Hladini, know how much variety they can produce. They can produce innumerable number of varieties in the spiritual world, right? So the marginal potency or the living entities is also spiritual. Prakritim Viddhi me param jiva bhuta mahabahu. So, but the living entities are never equal to the Lord. The Lord is nirasta samya atishaya. Nirasta samya samya atishaya. In other words, no one is greater than or equal to the Supreme Lord. Nirasta means like, I think, um, greater, no, and then samya, no, like sama. We have the sama. Samya means like no, equal. No, there is nobody who's equal or greater than the Supreme Lord, like that. So the living entities, including even such great personalities as Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, are all subordinate to the Lord in the material world. Also, in the eternal form of Vishnu, he maintains and controls all affairs of the demigods, including Brahma and Shiva. Right. So, in this way, no, he maintains and controls of all the devatas, the Supreme Lord Vishnu. That's how it is there. Okay. So I have another this one that is there. I have to carry on for that. So today we will stop here only. No, like we are not exhausting our time till 3 o'clock. So we'll stop here only, and again tomorrow we will meet. Right. So this is like small slokas are there, and no, this chapter probably we will finish tomorrow or day after. Right. So thank you very much for your patient audience and hearing Srimad Bhagavatam every day. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, गौर भक्तवृंद की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय. हरे कृष्णा.